Hi, friend. I'm Tonya. If you're here right now, you're probably going through something heavy. I did last year. My son woke up one morning and said, Mom, my legs feel funny. They feel like they won't support me. And he didn't walk on his own for 4.5 months. I came to the point knowing that our pain was going to come to purpose. And I made a video last year, not planned, not rehearsed, not scripted, um, to deliver our story, to share in hopes to help at least one person, because we've learned a lot on the journey. And even though during that point of the video he was walking, we still aren't out of our storm. So we've learned more this year, which I'll continue to share. I'm sharing because I don't want anybody to feel as invisible as I did, dismissed, confused because the road is so unclear, as he was diagnosed with FND and we had no direction whatsoever. I also want parents to know you're not overreacting, you're not imagining it, and there are more questions to ask, and it's okay to keep asking questions. Stay till the end of the video. I've attached it next. Also share something at the end of the video I wish I had. Something for clarity, direction, and a little bit more hope. Here's our story. Hi all. I felt the need to come out publicly and say thank you. It's been a rough year. Without being said, Zachary's journey has been very long, but those families that helped tell me their stories of kids that had FND, that had similar situations to Zachary's, helped guide a little bit of a path, since we had nowhere to go from the doctors. And more importantly, to everybody that continued to pray for Zach. Because honestly, neurologically, that was really hard that he did not walk for 4.5 months. I sit here on the couch in the game room where he basically spent most of this year. So I felt it fitting. But there are so many of you that continue to pray for Zach's recovery. And he recovered, and I told God that if he would help heal Zach, I would share and try to help anyone that I could. See, when the neurological piece, when he could start walking from the gravity reset from functional medicine, from a functional neurologist, that was only half the battle. What we found out afterwards was only one of Zachary's organs was functioning properly. So the neurological piece was corrected, but we were still fighting a really big storm. So though he looks like he's okay, we are still on a healing journey. And it's important to share his story because I don't think this is a one-off. And I don't think it's just going to happen in kids. And I think it's going to appear differently as the years progress, but it's happening more and more. I'm on some of these sites where people are getting diagnosed with FND. Honestly, I felt like we got put into a bucket, that we went through 3 ER visits and all of Zachary's blood work was fine. The test came back clear. He didn't have a tumor. Didn't even think about it. He had a brain tumor. All these things got checked off, but nobody was looking for the root cause. It started at the beginning of the year, and it was viruses and sinus infections. And then we got, or allergies, right, is what I was told. He was missing school here or there. It went to a serious sinus infection. What really started was hypertension in his back. I couldn't hug him. It was like he couldn't sit back. He wasn't laying on his back in April. And a week later, he woke up and said, Mom, my legs feel weird. Well, because he had been sick for so month, I'm like, Zach, we got to go to school, right? He's like, they feel like they have pins and needles and they won't support me. And from that point forward, he could not walk on his own. Now, because of the sinus infection that wouldn't go away after 3 ENTs and an IDD, an infectious disease doctor, we had multiple rounds of antibiotics that weren't working. The second ER visit, after the first one we got diagnosed with FND, it was again a gait abnormality because he couldn't walk without the walker. The second one was because his vision, he could hardly see. We were in physical therapy because our primary care said physical therapy should do it. He'll just snap out of it. Okay, I was hopeful at that point until I started talking to some of the FND families that it doesn't work like that. He didn't refer me to a neurologist. I got my own psychotherapist, someone that I thought specialized in FND that could help. And once we did get a neurologist, because I knew that this was a bigger storm than it needed to be, and he basically said that it was just FND and to stay positive. The third ER, the second ER visit, when his vision was worse, they didn't even look at his gait. He got put into a box, and I was told that they see this at his age, like it was hormonal, that he couldn't walk. And I about lost my shit. The third ER visit was he had a swollen optic nerve. His vision had gotten so bad that we went to the eye doctor because Zachary's like, I can't stand it anymore, Mom. And he literally, you could see the spike on the machine of his swollen optic nerve. Of course, that put us into a spinal tap and all to rule out all other things. We finally got into functional medicine. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never really thought about functional medicine. I mean, you try to get everything that is going to be paid through your insurance as much as possible. Functional medicine is not. It's out of network. But we had nowhere to go. We had no idea how to heal our son. And we didn't know that the storm was getting worse, right? 3-hour visits. I mean, we finally got to a functional MD. She ran the blood work. When a functional MD comes back and says, it's a lot, your heart sinks. His gallbladder wasn't releasing toxins. And it was a bigger storm than that. He basically has mold, heavy metals, parasites, Lyme disease. The list goes on. Like, his immune system was incredibly compromised. He was, and I kept saying, he's gaining weight. Everybody said, no, that's normal. He's just hormonal. Well, it wasn't normal because it's the inflammation. His face was inflamed because his brain is inflamed. And his body was under attack. It basically was attacking himself. The functional neurologist that we went to, I ended up going to Alabama. We took trips back and forth. He went there twice a week. And the functional neurologist acknowledged that it wasn't just FND, that in fact, it was an autonomic dysfunction. Now, when we started piecing together the story, the scary first, well, wasn't the first scary thing, but this autonomic dysfunction affects his eyes. Well, we started thinking back, and Zachary got glasses in September of 2020. We believe the onset of the autonomic dysfunction, which basically is the homeostasis of his neurological system, got compromised after what we believe was COVID, or a different virus or multiple viruses, right? And it threw him into fight or flight in 2020. It is 2024. And we have been seeing different things that came up because I say he's a healthy boy, but then he's got like a hypertension, and he was popping his shoulder in and out, right? And I got all that x-rayed, and he was like, oh, it's just his collagen. That's just how he's built. Well, ironically, it was part of the autonomic dysfunction because his brain and body, his body didn't know where his brain didn't know where his body was. So he's able to do things that aren't standard. He was able, since the age of 5, 6, he had like this eye trick, and he could make his eyes go really fast. That's part of the autonomic dysfunction. Like, going back through, there were things that tied to the fact that he's had this, and it was breaking down his immune system. That's part of why we had to deal with the allergies, because it affects everything. But the biggest part of it is the storm that's building is his gallbladder is not releasing any of the toxins. In the second ER, because I had done research that some of the other kids had long COVID before, that was kind of a common denominator, I knew to ask for the spike protein test. Most doctors don't know about it. I've had McKenna tested. They had to figure out where it was. Zachary's, when we went to the second ER, and I've got that like a week later, his was 480. The COVID spike protein in his body was 480. And there are many doctors that believe that is toxic. It shuts down your cells. It attaches to your cells. And It did. The toxic burdens make us sick. So as I talk about the toxins in food and all of this stuff, food isn't what made Zachary sick. However, everything now that's accumulating inside of him, because it's not cycling out, like our body is meant to heal, but he was so compromised at this point because his body just shut down. His brain couldn't do it anymore. And the gravity reset, thank goodness, brought him back neurologically for his body to basically come back in homeostasis and go, okay, you're okay. And we found functional medicine doctors that were amazing in helping us down the path of vitamins and support that we need. And now, of course, we've been detoxing for months. The culprits are long COVID, it's Lyme disease, which we also believe that he might have come up positive for Lyme disease because it's the biofilm of COVID. The mycoplasma is walking pneumonia, which is really common out there right now, strep, like all of these things. One by itself is not going to make an atomic bomb like it's happened to Zachary. However, there are so many illnesses in the world that they can't put their finger on, or they can't tell you why you're sick. They can't get to the root cause. It's part of it. And I feel like I have to now give a voice. And I promised God that once Zachary was well, I would help others, because if I didn't know, and if we didn't find out that all but one of his organs was compromised, and if we didn't fix that internally, which you can't see, he could have died. And if I can help one other person, that's a mission of mine. They're also relating to it is we found a new primary care physician is PAN or PANDAS. It's the result of once you get infections, it compromises your immune system and attacks the cells. So you just can't see this. It's not apparent to the eye, but the inflammation, there are things that as our story continues, I will start to release more literature, information, training, however I can, to best talk about all the things that we've gone through and what has helped us, the treatments that have helped us, and what hasn't helped us. Because if he would have stayed in FND, I don't know if he would have continued to walk. The doctor said he would snap out of it. He was getting better. It was just a journey. I felt like that put us in a box when they didn't want to look for the root cause. And when I said, always be an advocate for your kid, that's why it's so important to me now. Because they are your kids. I mean, if it was me, we might have taken it a little differently. It was Zach. He's 10. And not to deal with all the other stuff that we've gone through, because he doesn't know why this happened to him. And nobody can explain it. He's still unsure. The whole Detox is unsure. And the storm, I mean, he just went back to school last week for 4 full days. Since the beginning of school, we're in December. So that's a journey all on its own. And we got some support with the teacher for Homeward Bound, but not all. It's just a really long journey. And for anybody that is going through it, I pray over you, but I will continue to tell our story. Please share so that we can help others. If you stay to the end, thank you. Thank you for caring enough about my son to listen. Thank you for praying over us. Thank you, because I know I went in. Zachary needed me. He didn't want to see anybody. He didn't want to be places, especially when he wasn't walking. He just wanted to be a normal 10-year-old. And for most of this year, he was not. He couldn't be. And I had to be there for him. So I realized that I might have been short. I might not have returned text. And I might not have told the story because I couldn't. I was tired crying. I was tired of being angry. But I will share the story as I get stronger to help others, because it's important. Thank you for listening.
Thanks. Thanks for staying with me to the end. Thanks for going through my journey. And if you're going through it, I hope I can help in any way, shape, or form. I know how overwhelming it is. I know how isolating it is and how scary it is for a really long time. Because when your child is struggling, you struggle. and answers don't make sense, especially with FND, especially in a child. So when your gut tells you that there's more to the story, trust your gut. Ask more questions. If you're in that place right now, I made something that I wish I had back then. It's a free guide that I made to help others, and it's 15 calm and healing practices that cost practically nothing. So it's in the description below. Feel free to download it for free. Hope that it helps. There were things in those that, had I had the guide going in, I probably would have, been able to calm down a little bit sooner. It doesn't take away all the calm, but it helps. And I hope a couple of them can help you through your journey. If you know someone that's going through it, please share. The FND road is very lonely. It's very lonely for a lot of different reasons. And I'm going to continue to put out more resources. I'm going to continue to tell our story because I want to continue to put our pain to purpose. Subscribe if this resonates with you, if you want to continue to heal our story, and follow along. Because if you're going through what we went through, your child deserves answers, and there is hope. Thank you.